when it comes to picking up wide receivers off the waiver wire, week 6 sucks. There's not much talent there. Same old names. Nobody's really blasting off. Ryan Flournoy of the Dallas Cowboys, the new name that went off in week 5. Everybody's looking at him wondering what to do. We're poking him with a stick. We're looking at him. Is he worth picking up? Is he worth starting? Or are we just going to look at him on our bench and then release him? This is what we're here for today. We're going to deep dive his situation, his background, the analytics, so you can make your stance on Ryan Flournoy right now. More than likely, the decision has been made. It's Friday, but still, we're deep diving him today so you know more about him, so you know how to strategize around him, whether it's to look away, pick him up, start, bench, whatever. It's all right here. Before we dig in, though, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're doing deep dives every single day. Deep diving trending players that everybody's looking at so they know what to do with that player when they get that information. On top of that, we go deeper than anybody else when it comes to looking at the waiver wire. Every single day, we look at the waiver wire, we look at what's there, we talk about the trending players. On top of that, we're helping you set your lineups. We're ranking the running backs, wide receivers. We're deep diving every single game, touching base on every single fantasy relevant player in the National Football League, so you know whether or not to start that player, bench that player, do whatever. It's all here. It's free. Click that button. Stop missing out. Ric Flair's watching. You do not want to disappoint Ric Flair. Ryan Flournoy went off week 5. Turpin was out, got the opportunity, and sometimes that's all it takes for a player. They get the opportunity, they run with it, and next thing you know, they become a piece for that offense. They become a player, and they look at him every week. He starts getting more targets, more snaps, more opportunities. 57% snap share, 9 targets, 6 balls caught, 114 yards. That was his moment. That was his moment. The week prior, 2 targets. The week before that, 3 targets. There was something brewing there. There was something brewing, but we had Tolbert, we had Pickens, Fergie Ferg was getting targets, Javonte Williams was cooking. Now you're looking at Ryan Flournoy now, and you're like, what should I do with him? He's on the Cowboys. They're out CeeDee Lamb. Now what am I doing with this Ryan Flournoy cat who just produced big time, and he's sitting there on the waiver wire? It's all the same names. Nobody's really dropping the good wide receivers or making any mistakes right now. And I'm looking at Flournoy, and that's the hot name. That's who everybody's looking at. And he is trending up there. The number 2 player right now in trends. When the running backs were up there for the Chargers, he was like 3 and 4 because he blew up. That is why we're really talking about him. Honestly, everybody's talking about him. Everybody wants to know about him. Somebody's picking him up in almost every league. They're looking at Ryan Flournoy. They're picking him up. We got Carolina on the road here. We're looking at this matchup here. And you're looking at this. There's a reason why. There's a reason why. And there's a reason why I'm here. You want to know about these players. Turpin, not practicing. Probably going to be out. So moving on to this. His background. 0-star recruit. We start off here, Central Missouri, 2018 to 2020, and we get some production. COVID hits. We go to Iowa Western Community College, 545 yards, 5 touchdowns, enough to get us to Southeast Missouri State, where we blow up 825, then 1,000 yards, back-to-back 7 touchdown seasons. You're looking at ADOTs, both of them, double digits, 14.5 in 2022, 11.4 in 2023. So we can make plays downfield. We can get targets downfield. We're running over 300 routes a season. We're getting a lot of work in the passing game here. And that's a good thing to note. We get to the Senior Bowl, and we make it happen. We're the only FCS wide receiver there. We're standing out among all the FCS wide receivers. So you're getting one of the top playmakers from the FCS level at the Senior Bowl, and we level up. We make some plays. We look good at practice. We look solid there. And now we get drafted by the Dallas Cowboys in the 6th round, 4.4 speed, and good size adjusted athleticism with an 82nd percentile speed score, elite burst score, 93rd percentile, 6'1", 202, catch radius, almost 90th percentile, 87th. This is solid. Sure, he's almost 26 years old. You expect that from an FCS player. You expect that from a late-round wide receiver. This is a dart throw player. You got good size, adjusted athleticism, 82nd percentile college dominator rating. That is the market share, the ownership of the team's passing production. So we dominated the competition at the FCS level. So it's not like we were just competing and we were good. We were dominant. We were dominant in our offense. And to be dominant in our offense, we got to be productive. We got to produce. We got to put out yards. That's what we did. Sometimes you're looking at the stats from college and they look like video game numbers. And then other schools, they don't throw it as much, or they run it a lot, or they never run it. And the numbers don't make sense. That's why you look at them per share basis, and you look at them at that rate too, zooming out to get a good and better understanding of what that player is about, because you're owning a large portion of the work in the passing game, meaning you're dominating on the field and you're dominating the other players in your receiver room, the running back room, or whatever it is. 22.9 breakout age, late breakout age, but you just look at it. He scrapped his way to getting to the FCS level. We scrapped our way at the Senior Bowl, and now we're scrapping our way up the Dallas Cowboys depth chart. We'll see how high we can go, but we are a player to root for, honestly. This is an FCS player that has always worked his way up the ladder. This ladder here to get to the FCS through high school, the smaller schools. Then we get to FCS, we ball out a little bit, Senior Bowl. Now we're working our way up the Dallas Cowboys depth chart. And that's something to pay attention to. There's some other wide receivers here on this team you got to pay attention to as well. Jonathan Mingo's on IR. When's he coming back? You got to pay attention to him. Holden had a very good training camp. He was making plays left and right. That's something to pay attention to as well. Solid training camp. Turpin, when he's back, he's going to be getting work in this offense. He gets carries out of the backfield. He's got speed to burn. The team likes him. Tolbert has been a mainstay here on this offense for a bit, and they like him. He's been around, and he's not the most productive wide receiver, nothing compared to a Pickens or a Lamb. He's just been steady. He's just digests the playbook, the system, and everything else pretty good. But really, when you think about Flournoy, you're seeing some potential upside with him. A rough ball, Clay from the FCS level, that if he develops, if he takes advantage of his opportunities, he's only going to get a small window of opportunities here. He just got one right there and took it and captured it. This could be a player that emerges into something, especially right now. You're down Lamb. What if you get down Pickens? What if you get down Tolbert? There's some opportunities for him. George Pickens is a dog. He's turning it up with Lamb out. He's got a wide receiver 1 week. He's got 13 points last week, 17 week 3, 17 week 2. He's been steady. He's not stealing his targets. He's definitely not doing that. Tolbert has been a big piece of this offense for a long time. He's been slowly ramping up a little bit more each season, just a little bit. But he doesn't have the upside to take over. He's just a sound good role player on this team. He's not really a fantasy asset unless you're throwing him in there in dire situations, hoping he hits on good matchups. That's really what you're doing with Jalen Tolbert. But he is a player to look at for fantasy right now due to the open game scripts that could blow up and due to how much he's getting used in the passing game. Turpin's banged up right now. He didn't practice on Thursday. We're going to get more news on him. You're looking at the targets on this team. Jake Ferguson is getting almost 10 targets a game at 9.6. He's running a 72% route participation rate, 30 routes per game. He's getting an elite work rate. His ADOT is severely low. His ADOT is below 4 at 3.9. Like, I do not know how that happens. I get it's the tight end spot. Usually they're around 6. Like, 3.9 is very low. But we're getting almost 10 targets a game. We're getting red zone looks. We're getting yards after the catch. George Pickens right now, 18.9% target share. They're spreading it around a little bit because Javonte Williams is getting a 10% share. Tolbert's getting a 9. Turpin was getting set. It's getting spread out a little bit. But I look for Pickens to get some movement here. But some of these games, he just starts getting targets late in some of these matchups too. So some of this is matchup dependent. He's out there on 92% of the routes. Flournoy is out there on 22% of the routes. But the thing is, you're hoping this game that he had last week is a segue to more, is a modicum that puts him in motion to fantasy production, more routes ran. Because right now, on average, he's running 9.4 routes per game. That ain't going to cut it. That ain't going to cut it at all. That's not going to work out. He's averaging 2.8 targets per game. Most of them are from last week and a 7.1% target share. It's not going to cut. It's not going to work out unless we get a big change here due to what we just recently did. You're looking at target separation. He's in line with the other wide receivers, not far off from everybody else, really, when you're looking at that. Turpin's very high there, but you're looking at that. His target separation is in line with the other wide receivers. It's just on a small sample. You're also looking at targets, receptions, and yards, the baseline stats here. He only has 14 targets on the season, caught 10 of them, 149 yards, most of them last week. He has surpassed Tolbert. He does not have as many targets. They may look at that, and this is a coaching staff that might evolve and might start playing around with these wide receivers, considering Lamb's out and considering they don't have much to lose, considering they also lost Michael Parsons. They have players in and out, especially on the offensive line this season. You're looking at the wide receivers' quarterback ratings when targeted. Flournoy, 118, looking solid. Turpin, 111. Tolbert, 46. Lamb, 78, but he's getting a lot of volume, and he's also CeeDee Lamb, so you're just going to chuck it up to him anyways, whether you need to or not. Pickens, 124. He's a deep ball dandy. You're looking at the ADOTs here. Ryan Flournoy is hitting at 8.8. He has potential to go deeper. They're probably feeling him out right now, considering Turpin was out, considering what you got at wide receiver with Lamb out. You're looking at this. He's also not getting a lot of work in the slot. However, retrospectively, when you look at the snaps in this offense, he's got a 34.6% share, so it's very fair. They're mixing him and Tolbert out in the slot. You're looking at Pickens. He's never in the slot unless they're trying to cook something up. Looking at this matchup this week, that's really going to cut the crack for you. You're looking at the Panthers, and the first thing you'll notice, they're less than league average when it comes to allowing fantasy points to wide receivers. And you're like, they're shutting them down. And fantasy analysts will do that. They'll give you that rough stat. This team's doing this to wide receivers or doing this in the last 5 weeks to tight ends, but they won't break down the games. The Panthers, when you peel it back, they've been in 4 busted game scripts where the passing game for the other team has went out the window. They didn't need to do it. You're looking at that. You're looking at the Patriots getting up. You're looking at them getting very high up on the Falcons. That's the Michael Penix game where it was god-awful. You're looking at the Arizona game there. Arizona got up early. They had to come back. You're looking at that. You're looking at when they had that rough start in week 1 against Jacksonville. Bryce Young looked horrible in that game, especially in the start of it. You're looking at Miami, Carolina, where it was back and forth. You got a lot of good volume. Those two teams look like good dancing partners. Now you're looking at the over-under here. 49.5 over-under. We got a tight spread of 3. And you're looking at the fantasy scoring of the other wide receivers. Diggs did well. And you got Waddle doing well. London got you to the fairway at 10.5, but it's not really looking good for fantasy. And you're thinking about this potential game script, and you match it up with those 5 other games. Which one does this game more than likely look like? Because you think about this, Rico Dowdle revenge game, Cowboys leak fantasy points to wide receivers and running backs. Panthers historically have done that as well, especially last year, but they've been in 4 busted game scripts, so it's really hard to read right now. It looks close to that Miami-Carolina game, so you might get good flow in this matchup. So the ball might be spreading around. It might be a fun one. It might be high scoring. Vegas is saying it's high scoring. They did say last night's Philly-Giants game was going to be low scoring with a 40.5 over-under. They beat that. The Giants almost beat that themselves. They also had a thick spread with the Eagles with a 5.5. So it's not like they're always right. And that's also the market of people betting both sides. More often than not, it's kind of close when you're looking at the movement for fantasy football. We're expecting good movement in this game. And you're looking at what Carolina's allowing here and to running backs. They're allowing a good clip. They haven't broken yet, but they're not shutting anybody out either. They're bending to every single running back that they face. That is a good sign. They almost broke the HN. They almost broke the ETN, but they didn't. They're bending to every single running back. When it comes to tight ends, I believe Ferg's going to get volume, and he's going to volume himself into good production. They're allowing more than league average to tight ends. I think they're going to explore that. His ADOT, Flournoy, is at 8.8. He could be in that tight end range, getting some of those short targets. 30-some% of his snaps are in the slot. He could be getting that work too. He could be getting used. Now, when you're looking at him, you're looking at the coaching staff. This is a coaching staff that is performing well with what they got. Remember, we came into the season worried about the offensive line, worried about the running backs, worried about the defense. They traded Micah Parsons. They tied with the Packers. They hung with them 40-40. They beat the Jets. They beat the Giants. You can say, well, they're supposed to beat those teams. The Bears, they lost to them. Tight one with the Eagles, but they did just lose to the Giants. So the Eagles may not be the Eagles. If you want to galaxy brain that and think about that. Now we got the Panthers on the road. They're doing well with the hand they got. So this coaching staff might be malleable here with this offense. They might switch them in and out. They may allow Flournoy to get some opportunities. That is something to pay attention to. That is the sell. I'm also going to tell you why not to get him as well. In the video today, I went over my wide receiver rankings. It's this one right here. It's the thumbnail. I don't have them very high. I have them high enough to think about. I have him as an upside flex because you do not know what's going to happen with him. He is a gamble dart throw. I do not rank according to who I think is going to score the most. I rank according to lineup strategy. I may rank somebody a little higher that I know that is likely to get you to 12 fantasy points than over this boom bust player that could hit 20, but also is very risky to get you 5. But I know it could go either way. So if they hit that way, they could score outside that player, but that risk is baked in. There's risk baked into that, him as well, because when you're looking at this scenario, you're looking at not knowing if he's going to get the workload, if he's going to get the targets, if things are going to be the same. He could be a one-game wonder. That's the thing about this. It could go to Tolbert instead. It could be a Pickens game. Or it could be getting anointed. But he did make the top 50. I do have him as startable as a deeper flex option. Like if I'm starting 3 wide receivers and now I got to start a couple flexes, he's probably going to be in the thought process depending on where I'm at. Running back and wide receiver. Typically, I'm so deep at wide receiver, I'm probably not even thinking about Flournoy. I'm so deep. Unless the guy hit with like a lamb injury and something else, I'm probably not thinking about Flournoy. Because typically I'll go good running back, deep at wide receiver, start plucking away at running backs. I'd probably be rocking like a Bajan, a Scattaboo, a couple other rookie running backs, and just keep moving. Working the waiver wire while being jacked at wide receiver, playing the matchups. Really depends on how you're built here. You're looking at where he's ranked. Fantasy Pros is saying the same thing. Like he's a gamble flex play. So when you're looking at him as a gamble flex play, it's a strategy here. When you're picking him up off waivers. Are you down that bad that you're just shooting your shot here against the Panthers and hoping it hits? Now you're just saying it's a gamble. It is what it is. Or you're going to pick him up and maybe this becomes more. Maybe he's the next breakout. When you're thinking about waiver wire wide receivers right now, there are not many lottery ticket wide receivers. It's not like the running back position. When a starting wide receiver goes down, it does not all funnel to the next wide receiver. It spreads around. It just spreads around. You're looking at the Cowboys right now. It is spreading around. Lamb went down. It's not all going to Pickens. He's had some great games. It's not all going to Pickens. A lot more went to Ferg. You're seeing some of these other wide receivers, Tolbert, Turpin, Flournoy, a few others get a little bit of work. You're seeing that. It does not all funnel. Where the next running back up, it funnels to him. Trey Sermon, I like to use him as an example. He hit once out of every 3 games last year when given the opportunity. It's not like that at wide receiver. It spreads around. Now, it might spread around a little bit to him, and he could be an upside play to you. Now, thinking about him, if I were to pick him up, if I was looking at him and I did not like the other wide receivers off the waiver wire and I wanted him, I would look at him as a play on my bench, and I'm seeing if we can take that step forward. If we hit another game, now we're in lineup setting scenarios here where we might be starting him. Right now, I'm only starting him in dire situations. I like Thornton a lot this week. Jalen Tolbert's also a gamble. Xavier Legette's always a gamble every single way. He's in that gamble territory right now, so you got to make that play. So you got to think about those terms of strategy. So why do you need him? He's a lotto bench spot right now. He's a lotto play for lineups. He's also in range for the flex, depending on where you're at. Like, if you're good at wide receiver and running back, he's not really in play. Systematically, he's not really in play. If you're hard pressed right now and you need a gamble, you need something ambiguous, you need something different, you only got 1 win, 0 wins, you got so many injuries, maybe you take that shot type of play because you do not know what the touches are going to look like, the targets, the snaps. It may not add up to much anymore. But we could come in here and he blows the door off. He could be great on your bench. He could be a secret play in your lineup. However, this could just be one game. He could just be a one-game wonder. That's the strategy with him, though, is you pick him up, you look at him, you stash him, you see what can happen. And that's it. If you don't like that, then you don't pick him up. You don't use him. You don't get him. If I'm good at wide receiver, I'm good. I'm good. If I'm hard-pressed, I'm going to do hard-pressed things, and I'm going to shoot more for the moon. The more hard-pressed I am right now, the more I'm going to shoot for the moon. I'm already wrecked. Average ain't going to get me to here. Average ain't going to get me to here with my moves. Unless something happens to give me above average. Players come back from injury or whatever. But average moves ain't going to get me to the moon when I'm down here, because average at best will get me here. Because those average players off the waiver wire, they're more like 10 to 12 PPR fantasy points if they're cooking. Not many of them are really going to hit long-term multiple games big time, especially at the wide receiver spot. Like I said, when starting wide receiver goes down, it doesn't go to the next man up. It spreads around. So there are not many young guys here that's ambiguous. There's only a few of them in the league that you can look at that could go to the moon, you shoot your shot on. And then after that, you're looking at lineup plays that could go boom bust. Flournoy's kind of in that category right now, but he's super ambiguous. Tyquan Thornton, some other wide receivers. Look at it like that. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear about that. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.